Okay, Angela, welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Cloud. Thank you
Hey
for what
there.
you do. My question is that I left home when I was 18 because I grew up in an abusive environment, and
Oh,
it's been about 3 years, and I've been seeking biblical healing and whatnot through the mentors and stuff. But one of the things that really affects my life daily is just my desire of wanting parents that I've noticed that it's gotten into every single part of my life of which I didn't expect that to do that. And despite
the the
having mentors and
the what? Hold on. The what has gotten into every part of your life? I couldn't quite hear.
like the desire for parents.
Desire. You say desire?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
Um
good that you can feel that. That's good. It's really good that you can feel that. Some people
and
don't
I
realize that they need parenting, and they don't realize that. So you know what they try to do? They sublimate that need into like a romantic relationship or some kind of addiction or something. But you're aware that you need some people watching out for you, and you need some people nurturing you, and you need some people guiding you. That's parenting. That's good.
um and I've had a really hard time dealing with that, especially when I see other people with healthy families.
Yeah.
Um and even struggling with I understand that having God is having everything, but those two don't really go together at times, and it
What
just creates
what
this
does
huge
wait a minute,
conflict.
what hold on a second. What does it go together at times? I didn't understand
The line that people like to say that is mostly true, where if you know God and if you have God, then you have everything. Um, but
that. Well,
then
wait a
the
minute.
other part of
Hold on.
me
The other part of you what?
says is I really want parents, and people say like God is our father and whatnot, and I don't know how those two just keep
Oh,
being in conflict.
Angela. Angela. Oh, I'm so glad that you called. Sorry, my heart breaks for that statement. Sorry, guys. Angela, those aren't separated in God's eyes. Here's what he says in the Psalms. It's either 85 or 68, I think. You could go find it. But here's what God says, that he's a father to the fatherless, but he also says that he puts the lonely in homes. So much of what he wrote in the book told people to take care of those without families, the orphans, the widows, the children that don't have anybody. God's not asking you to go without. He's not. And he said, where, if you know him, where did he say he was going to be except where you're together with people that are doing everything the New Testament says do for you, to comfort you, to heal your broken heart, to teach you, to mentor you, to help grow you up. So I just don't want you to see those things in conflict. As you reach out to God, what I want you reaching out with him too, as well as thanking him that he's your father, is to ask him to lead you and guide you and open doors to a place where you can get God with skin on. That's the incarnation of the whole message of the Bible, that he came to earth to love us through each other as well. So don't feel like you have to be lonely because you know God. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
I want for you what you want. for yourself. So I just wanted to start with that. When people miss stuff growing up, God's whole message is you don't have to miss that for life. We're gonna be born again. We're gonna start over, and I'm gonna put you in a new family. It's called His body, and that family is gonna heal each other. So that's what I want for you. Now, having said all that, you talk to me. Tell me how I can help with that.
Um, what are ways that like what I can do when um I'm really struggling with wanting parents and stuff? Because sometimes it can go really bad, and um it'll make like when situations go wrong, even if like one small thing goes wrong, my brain kind of makes it even worse because it just connects it with the scapegoat of not having parents, even though I know a lot of times that that's not true. And um, I don't know, I just have a really hard time
Yeah,
really wanting parents. And
yeah. Well, um, let me ask you this. You're what, 21 now? Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
So you left home, you're out there on your own. Um, what are you involved in now that would be a healing track with help? What kind of help are you getting? Do you have a therapist?
Um, I went through restoring the foundation of biblical healing with my congregational leader's wife and a mentor. And then they've been telling me to go to counseling, and I've been trying to find one. And I think I'm supposed to be starting another one next month.
Okay. That's the first. I'm going to give you a lot of different options here. Um, the If you can do that, that'd be the first place I would start. Would be to find a really good individual therapist, because that would be somebody that could help you steward all the other pieces of this as well. But I would want you to find a really good individual therapist. I would also want you to find a group community setting, something like Celebrate Recovery. Google Celebrate Recovery. They have groups all over the country, all over the world, actually, and that's a very healing environment where people get exactly what you're talking about. I mean, what do our friends do for us? They reparent us because we grew up in a dysfunctional family called the family of Adam, the human race, right? And then we're born into a new family where we get reparented. This is all very, very normal. You just have to find the context for it. So I'd like to see you get an individual therapist. I'd like to see you get specifically a healing community like that. And then you're going to go from there into some specialty areas, which means parents equip us for life. So whatever your inclinations are, if you want, if there's some career path that you need to go into, there's you know there's classes and mentors and support systems and all of that. Or if whatever the track is, I think we also need mentoring in addition to healing. So I would want you to be looking at all of those different tracks. And here's what I would tell you, that by and large, it really helps if you can't if this isn't happening on its own, that you go somewhere where they're hanging out a shingle and saying, we are here for you if you're hurting in these ways. And we have, an agenda and a schedule, and we meet every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and where there's a set structure to do this. And in most cities, there's a lot of times there's several churches that have a lot of things going on just like you want. So that's what I would suggest to you.
Is there, well, have you seen people been able to not repeat the mistakes of their parents when they are raising their own families and marriages?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. this is a great thing, Angela, that generational patterns can be absolutely broken if somebody does what you're doing. If they say, I can see what the Bible says do is confess the sins of your fathers. Some people say, well, why do you have to look at the past and all that? You're not living in the past. You're acknowledging that was wrong. I don't want to be that way. And you're differentiating from it. And so when people do that, and then they say, and not only did they do some bad things that I didn't want to do, they also did not give me some good things that I need to have put into me and learn some new ways and some new skills that they should have taught me, that I can take those new ways and new skills into my own future. And that's what you're doing. And so I would 100, I've spent decades watching people do that. And yes, absolutely, you can turn this around with the right kind of help. So that's the hope I would give you. But I
Thank
want
you.
you to call
I
and
really
get some
appreciate
help.
it.
All right. Thank you for your call. And also, we're going to stay on the line, and we're gonna gift you. You know what? I'm going to give you the whole ball of wax. I'm going to give you access to the whole Boundaries.me platform, including all the workshops. And maybe that'll be a launching for you on this path as you go forward. Gosh, guys. In one way, Angela's story is everybody's story. Not to the extreme. I don't know what her abuse was that caused her to leave home at 18. That's severe and that's significant. But what I mean by her story is everybody's story. I often stand in front of an audience and say, "Hey, who here grew up in a dysfunctional family?" And everybody laughs, and they point at each other, and I'd say, "Come on, let me see your hands." And a lot of people raise their hands, but some people don't. I go, "You guys are in denial because everybody grew up in a dysfunctional family. It's called the human race. It's a family of humans that were designed to be healthy, and then they turn their back on God and turn their back on health, and we all went our own ways down the generational path. And what happens? You know, look at your issues. Well, look at your parents' issues. Well, where did they get those issues? Well, ask them about the grandparents. And then the grandparents have issues. Well, ask them about the great grandparents. And all of a sudden, we start to realize, wow, this stuff's been going on for generations, maybe not exactly the same, but the opposite sometimes. Somebody grew up without any parenting, and they raised their kids with and they're too harsh or too structured, or who knows? But we're imperfect people. I mean, my kids are I know they're gonna be sitting on some shrink's couch one day talking about me. I hope to God they are. I hope they go. I can't. This idiot wrote all these books, and sometimes he wasn't. And I hope some shrink goes, "Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry." They go, "Thank you. I feel better," and then they do better. I hope they can confess the sins of their fathers. Now, they did have a perfect mother, but that's another story. But my point is, look, everybody came from a dysfunctional family. And there's two things you have to realize wherever you came from. By family, I mean larger than your family of origin. I mean the community, the tribe you grew up in, the socioeconomic class and whatever that meant. Sometimes people, from extreme privilege, grow up with dynamics that wreck them for life. But all of that stuff, what God says, and every psychologist would tell you, that wherever we came from had two things: some bad stuff that happened that we got to be healed of, and some good stuff that didn't happen that we got to get put into us. And that is the old-fashioned word redemption. And as a person of faith, I believe with every fiber of my being exactly what Paul said in the New Testament, that God came to earth in Christ, is the way he said it. He says that he was reconciling all things unto himself. When he came, he said, look, I want to fix all this of where you come from, how you're broken and how you're not developed. I want to reconcile that. And then he said this. He said, reconciling all things unto himself. And he said, he has given us this ministry of reconciliation, which means it is our job as we get healed to take that healing and grab Angela and welcome her in. I would not be sitting here today if some people hadn't done that for me.